And I'll briefly start my video just to say hi, everybody, and welcome. So thanks for joining. And I'll go into an introduction of what we're going to be covering here today. All right. Hopefully you can see my screen. All right. Mike, can you see my screen on my display? Okay.
Just going to say it looks great.
Okay, thank you. All right, so one of the things we thought we did, and I've done this, I did this one for the Blueprint 4D exhibition as well. So it was one of several presentations I did there. So what we thought would be handy for a lot of people who are just trying to figure out how to get started, how to take advantage of Orchestrator, was to offer up and show you some live examples of some real use cases that our customers are taking advantage of. And I mean, there's a lot more than what I've listed up here on the screen, and the highlighted ones in yellow are the ones that I want to show you. They're very simple. In fact, one of them, if you come and join in and register and take one of our Orchestrator workshops, just it's a free work, to get your introduction into Orchestrator, into the Orchestrator, is that one where we update your duplicate branch plants across all the branch plant item master copy across different branch plants. And that's one we teach you to do in that class. So that's one I'll show you here today. So, automating the updating of exchange rates, very simple orchestration. Goes out, reads a website using a REST web API, and brings the exchange rates in as often as you schedule that orchestration to run, and updates your system with currency rates. Creating sales orders from a CSV or a spreadsheet file. Order entry, that's a common one. And although I don't have an FTP site set up the way this one really works, I'll show you dragging and dropping a spreadsheet, a CSV file, into the orchestration and how it creates the sales orders for it. I already talked about duplicating branch plants across branches, records across branches. I'll show you that one as well. Input inbound AP vouchers from a file. So that's a common one where people used to or still do some of the EDI transactions, basic setup, but you can bring those in. And then one of the ones I think is pretty cool is a live one, and I'm going to start with that one, which is advancing a sales order status code based on the completion of a work order. So this is a make to order, as you can make to order environment, where when the work order gets completed, the customer wanted to advance the sales order status right away so it could get released, picked, packed, and shipped out the door. And then there's just some description of some other ones. We have a customer who's using Smart ERP to manage and update sales orders and call out Avalara to had to do a bunch of customizations for Avalara tax rates to come and pick it up. So they're taking advantage of that one. It was work in process. I believe it's live now, and we're looking at implementing that in several other customer sites. So those are just some topics of them, and I'll show them to you in just a moment. As you're probably aware of, Orchestrator started as called the Internet of Things, and that was over 7 years ago. In July of 2015, and it was meant to be, take a signal from a piece of a machine, and it would update JD Edwards with that temperature. In that case, it was a temperature sensor was running hot, and would trigger a capital asset maintenance activity to update the JD Edwards and trigger a work order and a maintenance message to a notification to somebody to go and check on that piece of equipment. It is kept in sync with each, and tools releases. It's probably the most fast moving, most improved and enhanced area in JD Edwards. We're actually, we're on release 9264. That's the current one. 9261 was beginning of release 22. Now there have been 3 releases in all tools so far this year. A lot of different features in Orchestrator got picked up, and release 23 is coming out soon. Oracle at Blueprint let us know that we can expect in the early fall to see release 23. So as I pointed out, this is a snapshot of the actual. And if you've installed Orchestrator Studio and the Orchestrator UDOs that are coming along with JD Edwards out of the box, you've probably seen this orchestration in your environment, right? And this was that original Internet of Things orchestration, where what happened is the orchestration was set on a schedule to run. It did used this white list setup in the orchestrator to say, okay, is this signal coming in? This database access signal coming in, is it valid for us? Is it one of our pieces of equipment? If the answer is yes, then it maps the data from that inputted whitelist values into your equipment ID in JD Edwards. Then it has that, and it would check the temperature rule that says if the temperature is over a certain degree, then it's going to go up and it's going to say there's something wrong. It's going to determine if it's already sent a work order out there, determine if the work order exists for the day already. If it does exist already, it skips it. If not, it's going to create the condition-based alert in JD Edwards and create a work order based on that alert signal, and then finish up. And that's one you'll probably see out there, and that's the different pieces of it. So I forgot to click that thing. So that was that first at the top there, the equipment sending a signal in, and Orchestrator has blossomed into having a lot of uses, right? The user interface of JET applications, Java Extension Toolkit, which there's about 8 or 9 new ones in JD Edwards and release 22 that have a front end using Java Extension Toolkit, including a purchase order approval web your user interface app that they all call orchestrations to get data and update data in JDE. Process simplification, that's some of them we're going to talk about here, like the one where the work order gets updated and the sales order gets updated based on the update of the work order, automating that process and simplifying it, taking work off of people's hands and just automating those processes. Integration, obviously that's not obviously, but the AP voucher input, is an integration example, or sales orders coming in from a spreadsheet or a CSV type file. And it's moving into the future, which will be intelligent ERP. We're already seeing some intelligent build where the orchestrator monitor, can monitor the performance of the orchestrations and things that are going on and provide information, making it more of an intelligent ERP solution, as well as monitoring inventory levels. If the item is running low, go ahead, and it's below a level, go ahead and automatically create that reorder point and stuff like that. So this is, just kind of an example of the evolution. The old Orchestrator Studio 7 was, the initial one. It was actually a 2-piece orchestrator, the studio to develop, and then there was a client to test and run. Then it rolled into Orchestrator Studio 8, which is, was all in one for running orchestrations, testing them, working with them. And now Orchestrator, I guess you would call it Studio 9, and you can see with release 22, there's some new things that you can do. You can create now, and actually in 9264, you can create workflows other than, and as well as modify your existing workflows. You can create workflows. Logic extensions was a big piece added and has had a couple of enhancements to it already, right? Logic extension where you can build logic into an orchestration, doing conditional or doing arithmetic or conditional if then else loops and stuff like that. And then they did more and enhanced accessing and working with media objects, attachments, and messages and other things like that. So you'll see when I get into my studio, it's going to look a lot like that. So these are the core common components, just a bit overview. Form requests, which are, generally, and like some of these orchestrations you're going to see here in just a minute, have started out as when was a process recorded of a process being performed in JDE, aka I recorded the process to add and update currency exchange rates in JDE. That became the foundation for the orchestration to read the website, get the data, and update JDE. Data requests, reading flat data straight out, read your files and tables and get the data in and out and update things within JD Edwards. Messages, the notifications coming back and forth, connectors, connecting orchestrations to orchestrations, and the pieces together. There's custom service requests where you could add in Groovy, JRuby, Jython, and other to manipulate raw data in custom. Easy to create, take a watch list and create a orchestration notification out of it. And then of course running reports. And one of these orchestrations I'm going to show you actually allows you to put a B98 orc call in your JDE, and it'll call the orchestration and run the report within it. So as I already pointed out, workflows, attachments, logic extensions are release 22 enhancements, and they just keep on going forward. Okay. So here is the first one I'm going to show you here. It basically walks through, and this is kind of the logic behind the orchestration. It's going to get the work order status from the F4801 work order status, right? And then it gets the related sales order information. If the work order status is equal to 50, which means in this company's environment, the work order was completed. This obviously can work with any work order status or activity codes that you take advantage of. Checks if the related sales order type is equal to a sales order, a stock transfer, and it includes a custom Groovy script to remove all zeros at the beginning of the related sales order number. If you're familiar with the way JDE handles those numbers, it has zeros padded at the front of it. So this has a little Groovy script to strip that off. It will then get the next status of the related sales order and checks if it's still at a 534, which means in this company's activity rules, it's in production. And then if that's the case, the orchestration updates the sales order status from a 534 to a 536 using speed status update application. Here is what it looks like, and so this is the diagram, and rather than regurgitating it for you, let's jump in and see it in action. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my Orchestrator Studio here in my lab. I'm going to call up the orchestration, and the first one we're looking at is that Orchestrator Advanced Studio ORCH. There it is. So here is the orchestration. This is what I just described to you that it's going to do. Each step in it. So first, it's going to take an input that in this case, for this customer, for this live case use, is RF Smart is scanning a work order saying it's completed. So it takes that work order number and is input as an input into the orchestration, and I'm going to show you that in it. So it's going to take the business unit, the work order type, and the work order number from, in this case, would be RF Smart, but in our case, we're going to manually do it. It's going to check the rule to see if the work order status has now been bumped to 50. If it's true, it checks then sales order type for a sales order, or a stock transfer, or others. Then it's going to check the sales order detail to see if the status code of it is that 934. And if those things are true, then it's going to go ahead and update the line status from 534 to 536. Right? So if I jump over into my JD Edwards environment here. So the demo example I have here was, I thought it was, let's see what I got here. Oh, these are today. I don't want that. So if here's our sales order, and we go to the related work order, because this is a W line type make to order item, and we go to work order revisions, we can see then that the work order for that item, the related, is 456711. We look at the details of this work order. So this work order has the associated business unit. See what I talked about, how you needed the Groovy script to strip off the zeros in front of the sales order. That's what a part of the orchestration will do. So by completing it, and I can just kind of manually bump the status code here, rather than, calling it from it. So we're going to update the status code, manufacturing complete, and we'll update that. Then I'm going to go back to my work order. I'll close this and we'll see here back at the sales order status here. The status is 534. It's in manufacturing. And with the successful completion of the orchestration now, we should see that get bumped to a 536. So now I'm pretending like I'm a scanner, I'm getting the work order information. M30 is the business manufacturing business unit. The work order type is a WO, and the work order number was 456711. And we're going to run that. You can see I didn't have any output other than it's true. It shows you the related sales order number. And if I jump back into my JD Edwards environment and refresh my screen, we now see that the last status was 534, and now the next status is a 536. It's automatically ready for picking to go ahead and set it up for, or actually in this case, transportation, set it up and send off for shipment. So that was the first orchestration I wanted to show you. Again, these are all live examples for it. So the second orchestration, very common one, and if you've ever had to add an item master in JDE, and especially if you're a distribution environment where you might have multiple branch plants with the item existing in multiple branch plants, you will have to go through, copy it to this branch plant and then that branch plant and that and then another branch plant, or set up the UBE, which automatically updates them. But it's a time-consuming effort, and especially if you have a lot of branch plants. We've had some customers that have a lot, maybe stores where they sell the product out of. That can be a labor-intensive effort, right? So here is an example. This is my demo branch plant. So this one first is going to take an input. It's going to read through all of the F0006, the business unit, and see if they're inventory, if it's an inventory business unit. And then on a looping basis, it's going to call the orchestration to create the item branch for each and every one of those business units that is a labor that is an inventory holding position. You can see it's got an iteration. That's what this looping circle with an arrow is, right? So I'm going to go in here into my JD Edwards, and let's go with item master. Now we're going to go into add mode here. Well, actually, let me go into, I think it was here. Let me see what I wanted to do here. No. I want to see if I got the form extension set up already. All right. Give it 1 second. Okay, I must have added it into the add mode, which makes more sense actually. Okay, so in here, we're going to see, I should have I should see I have an associated orchestration when a record is added, right? So what I have, and if you haven't seen this, you can call orchestrations and add orchestrations, obviously, as I'm showing you here from a JD Edwards application. You can also now call an orchestration right from an E1 page, right? So this is orchestration that I just showed you, that demo create item branch all, right? And it is affected once you click OK, post that button, click. It's going to call that orchestration, mapping the item number into the orchestration, and then executing it, in synchronous mode, which is the default with here. And we don't really have any outputs, so I'm going to just cancel back out of it. So I have my orchestration associated to this item, right? So we'll just make sure that we're creating a new item here. I'll call it, AUG 101, right? So that item does not exist. We're going to go into add mode, AUG 101. We're going to call this, August new item. We'll make a stocking type of a purchased item, geo class IN30. And that should be good enough for the purposes of our run. So we're going to go ahead and we hit save. We see we've got a new, we got a previous item number, the short item number listed out there. And if we go back now, we'll not only see our new August item, but when we go to the branch plants, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, what is that? 10 different branch plants that orchestration added just that quickly and just that efficiently, without somebody having to loop through each and every one of those orchestrations. I should pause. Mike, are you seeing any chats or questions? Are we doing all right? I don't see, it doesn't look like anything. So I'm gonna just keep on going. Okay, so that's a couple of them. Another real quick, easy one, right? If you're a multi-currency environment, somebody needs to maintain the currency exchange rates on a regular basis, right? So I'm going to go in here and we're going to look at currency exchange. So if I was going to add currency for EU, Euro dollar, euros to USD, right? And I hit find, I could double click in here and we can see I don't have any entries for today. I have one from yesterday. But if I was a user, I would have to hit the plus sign, go through the screens and add it on, and so forth and so on. And then I would have to do that for other currency exchange rates that our company uses. Now, this one initially starts out for our customer looping through more than I've got. I've got it streamlined to just a few currency exchange rates in our environment. So I only have a few. So here is my orchestration. And again, normally you wouldn't be manually running these as I am, but you would be you're setting, having them in a schedule. Orchestrator has a scheduler along with it to run them. So we go and run this, and just to show you what this one. So this one is reading. It's doing a data request, going out and checking for all of the currency exchange rates in your environment, right? That you take care of. And as you can see in here, I've got just a little list. I said if the currency code is in my defined list of values. So I've got, just I'm going from euros to US dollars and Japanese yen. That's just a filter on the data request reading through the currency exchange rate tables. And then this is the part of it that goes out. And here is the connector to the exchange rate website, right? And then bringing that in, and then calling the exchange rate application. There's the P0015A, which is to add the exchange rate in it, right? So I'm going to go back out here and find that guy again.
Hey, bud, my mic died. So we do have a question when you're ready, though. So
okay,
keep going.
All right, let me run this through, and then we'll
Sure.
show it. So all I'm going to do is launch this guy and run it, right? And it just comes back and says, it's got success. So if I come back into my JD Edwards, and if I check it here, see now we have a new entry for today's date, that orchestration just ran and updated. And I can tell you personally that took, and I'm not technical, I'm a more functional guy, that took all of about half an hour tops from start to finish and testing to get that thing working. And of course, it's just easy. There'll be no web services server to handle that. So, okay, so you say you got it. Let's see, we got a chat.
Yeah,
Okay.
a Q&A. Madi in the Q&A asked. Oh, we got another one too. Madi is on fire today. Are the branch plants hard coded in the orchestration, or can it be based on an Excel CSV with which branches need to copy to?
It was not hard coded in the orchestration. It read the what is that file where they're stored. So as well as it reads your currency exchange rate table, in JDE, I forgot what it's called. We can take a look at it. So this is that portion that you're asking in here. I think, let's see, is this the one, right? So this is getting the input from the orchestration. And I need to show you that. Oh, this is the guy. So this is reading your JD Edwards. See where it's reading the F41001, your inventory constants. So it's reading through and getting any inventory location or any branch plant that has inventory set up. So as well as is doing this, you could be giving it a values, or it could be reading a spreadsheet. So it was not hard coded into the orchestration at all. Okay, yes, and then the other one, are any of the examples Orchestrator used an additional dev language like Groovy? Yes. In fact, this one here, let me show you, this one has a little Groovy script in it. Groovy, JRuby, JPython or Jthon are all plugins available to you in JDE. And this guy here, let's see, I think it's going to go in here. That's the REST service call. So in the REST service call, what it's doing to get it, we're manipulating the data with this Groovy script in here, right? So this is what it's doing, a basic Groovy script. So many of them, as they get a little more in depth, you sure, and most of our folks like Groovy. They do. I don't know why they do a lot more with Groovy than other ones. So I think a response, I think that's the only one I had in here. This is just the pathing to get the data out of it. But yeah, that's one example of it. And there are other ones out here that use it. In fact, might be good to go into another, which is a little more robust features for you. So this orchestration, and it kind of going along with our list, was enter SO. So here's an orchestration, right? So this is, and here's the function code within it that uses Groovy script to manipulate the data coming in from the file. Actually, so this is required. This is JRuby, right? So a little different than Groovy, JRuby, which is basically JSON, right? This is just mapping through that says taking the data coming in, creating a sold to long address number to table and the item master. So it's got a little more involved in it because it's a pretty complex orchestration. So if I'm going to go back to here and close out of this guy. So I'm going to, so this is where I'm going to show, I have no orders out here yet today, right? That's what my little query here shows us, order date equals today. So nothing out there yet today. So if I go back into my Orchestrator Studio and we start to run this orchestration. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the files mode, right? And I have on my desktop two CSV files. I'm going to drag and drop them in here. This one, and then a second CSV file, hence the little more complex JRuby application. And I'm going to run this. So it's taking whatever it found in those two CSV files for sold to, shipped to, item number, and quantity, and creating sales orders in JD Edwards, running the P4210 order entry application, right? I think it's I forgot which version of it this guy is running. Oh, it's taking too long. Come on. So here it's giving me, and it's told me it's created order number 4003, 4004, and 4005 and 6. So from the data in those two spreadsheets, right, it went. So if I now do my new query, here's the orders with multiple lines from those sales orders coming in. So there's that's pretty powerful and pretty robust. Now this one, as I mentioned, you can now put orchestrations on an E1 page, and it won't be long. I think we'll be seeing that at release 23. We can do arrays for inputs into the orchestrator into E1 pages, but you should be soon enough be able to drag and drop orders right into into your E1 pages. So launch this, create orders from a sales order from a CSV file and allow your users to drag and drop and create. So the other one. So I think the last one that I wanted to show for this environment and for this webinar, right, is the AP inbound vouchers, just to show you what that guy looks like. And I pulled this from a customer and tried to bring it in. It's got too many unique versions for me to, and I didn't get them set up in time. But you'll be able to see the flow of this one. So this is, different function custom requests to get the ID, getting a timestamp, from the data. And then here's getting the file coming in from the FTP input, mapping those things out. And then here it is where it reads the vouchers and then updates, inserts the item numbers into the voucher, the Z1 file, right? And then we'll call the application to run them and create them into JDE. So that's, and this is not using EDI web service. It's just calling an FTP directory in and pulling that file in. So I think for what I had wanted to cover, and I know we're running on quarter till, which is about the end of the time here. I'll look for some Q&A questions up here. All right.
Yeah, you kind of have been answering them as you go along. So
okay, yeah.
I think you may have, Brian came in with a question about 5 minutes ago about recommendation of Groovy versus JRuby versus Jython.
Yeah.
I think you may have answered that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, and for me, it's really what you're comfortable with, right? And I can tell you, most of our, we have a pretty large orchestrator team, because a lot of people, we got to doing some pretty heavy duty orchestrations for our customers. And a lot of those folks like Groovy. I personally picked up Groovy because I could go online and learn it a bit, right? And it's actually, the other one would be JSON, or JRuby or Jython. It's up to you. I really don't have any recommendation. Just know when you set your studio up, make sure whoever your CNC is that's setting it up, that you want them to enable those development tools for you. And Marty, I would say probably maybe 1/3 of our orchestrations use a Groovy or JSON or some additional. The other ones do not. You can create very useful orchestrations without it. It just depends on where you're getting your data from and in what formats it's coming in. Go ahead.
We did get another question. How do we handle the exceptions errors while creating the sales orders?
Yeah, I did not go into that in the sales orders, but you can include error handling and what you want it to do if it hits an error. If we go into the orchestration, and that was that enter SO, and that's one of the big enhancements that has been done in the studio, is the capability to do your error handling, right? And in fact, I think we go in here, we can input some values, inputs variable values from steps. So we can look at the outputs here. Let's see here. So we can get into manipulating outputs and messages, right? So, outputs and assertions. So if you got an output was an error handle, what do you want it to do? Duplicate record or whatever it may be, you can handle that now in an Orchestrator. So, but yeah, you can include exceptions and error handling in it. Go ahead.
We did get an interesting follow-up question too, is why use data requests instead of getting the data directly from an application grid with return values, considering security as a concern, since for data requests, you need to give users access to the data request table.
It just depends on what you're comfortable in doing. I can tell you that the currency exchange rate one and the updating of the sales orders were done using a form request, where we went in here, started a process, recorded the process, right? And I start the process and then added it, right? And recorded it. And we went from USD to EUR, right? And recorded the steps in here, Y, and we give it a rate. I'm not going to do this, right? And save it. So many of them started this way already, right? I already have that as duplicate key in here. So what do we want to do here? What would be US? But anyway, those, if you go back to those orchestrations, they started as form requests. Many of the orchestrations and or at some level of them have that one. So this SO, right, sales order entry, and if I edit this guy, right, this was a form request, right? See here, we go through the first thing, which was add SO entry and enter new order. the P40, P4210, is a form request, right? So these are all form requests coming into it. So many of them. It's just, depends on what you're comfortable with doing. And, of course, you can't really do a form request for an FTP file coming in or something like that, so it's more valuable, to be able to do data requests. It just depends on what the usage is, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. They did respond with that they meant data requests, but instead of, I don't know if you can elaborate with specific data requests, but
I meant data. Why use data requests? Oh, you mean why do you use the data request, right? Well, in the one example here, the data request we did, which was to read the all branch plants, right? So here, that was a data request. So read the inventory constants, right? It would be difficult to make a data request using a form to query just that one field and see if it's an inventory. So a data request made more sense there, right? Whereas the form request in that orchestration for including and updating the inventory was a form request, right? That was your sales order. So it depends on the use of it, right? If you think about, if I have to go into my system and
yeah,
and try to record, I'm going to go into branch plant constants and find one, and how do you query it, right? You don't really have that query application in JDE to say is inventory location, right? So there's purpose in each and every one of them. So
okay. Well, we do have it is 12 till, and
yeah,
that is all of the
yeah, I'll stop sharing and you can share. I think you had a finish up for, in the presentation, right?
no, we really just get to the Q&A, and yeah,
Okay.
unless there was anything else you wanted to
Yeah.
add. I mean, obviously we always have our educational workshops. You can find them on the website, on demand, YouTube page.
September 15th will be our next one.
Okay.
So if you can go out there, and that's where we'll set you up. We'll walk you through creating that orchestration for updating the item branch plants. And I'll actually have a couple of instructional examples. We also have formal training that you can sign up if you have teams and whatnot, and you want one-on-one. Contact Mike, and we'll have a salesperson get it or whatever set up and get the agreement in place with you. But if you want a freebie, to get your hands on, I mean, I do them quite often. Me and my associate Dan. I think they're very valuable. We usually get a lot of kudos. People love them. So you can go to the GSI. You probably know how to do that better than me.
I'm going to just put our website in the chat, but also I'm going to put your email in the chat too.
So just go to getgsi.com and sign up for any one of those. They don't cost you anything except a little bit of time.
All right.
So here, if you go to the website, you go to resources for JD Edwards, and then the conferences and events, right? There's an upgrade. Here's the one I just talked about. You can click on it and sign up for it, right? We've got some on demands. I've got a release 22 upgrade workshop coming in too in September 20th, where we'll go over, and that one, you get your hands on a logical extension, and we'll teach you how to build a logical extension in the studio. A really cool new feature in JDE, logical extensions, moving away from the fact client kind of thing. So this is where you can have looping logic, assign values, whatnot. So either one of those. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I will say we are actually adding the extended agenda page today to that. But I can give you guys the let me make sure I get the link right. But I'll share it in the chat here. But you trust me, we're gonna hit you up before it is done. But but yeah, it'll be from 11:30 to 4 o'clock, and
Yeah.
it looks at a little bit peers into release 23 and what we know of that as well. So
Yeah.
great.
I thought I remembered Brian from one of those workshops. I remembered his name. He just said his kudos. Thank you, Brian. The class, hands-on class is great. And he was one of the guys who really finished through the class, so.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let me. Wonderful. Well, here there's the link. And then, but everyone who attended today will be reminded of those upcoming sessions. So on behalf of GSI, I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. This seminar, if you came in late or were pulled away, it will be live as an on-demand video for free, and you'll get a notification of when that is, unless you wanted to go over something, but obviously is available for questions via email if you wanted him to elaborate on any more. So that's all I've got. Thank you, everybody. Bud, any final words or anything you wanted to add?
No, just thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Yes, have a great rest of the week, everyone. Take care.
All right, bye.